Ethan was a nobody. At least that's how it felt most days on the sprawling campus of State University. He was a scholarship kid, drowning in textbooks and instant ramen. His faded band-themed t-shirts and thick glasses screamed nerd louder than any insult the jocks could hurl. Not that they needed much encouragement. Ethan was an easy target, content in the quiet corners of the library, lost in worlds of fantasy and adventure. Anime was his escape, particularly the epic saga of Code Geass. He admired the cunning Lelouch and the noble Suzaku, dreaming of a life less ordinary. He envied the characters he read about, their lives filled with purpose and danger. Ethan's days were consumed by studying, working part-time at the campus bookstore, and dodging the casual cruelty of the fraternity boys. He longed for something more, something to make him matter. Little did he know, his wish was about to be granted in the most extraordinary way. Summer break meant returning to his grandparents' aging farmhouse, a place filled with the scent of mothballs and forgotten memories. His grandparents had passed away years ago, leaving Ethan with the daunting task of clearing out the attic. It was a treasure trove of dusty furniture, old photo albums, and boxes filled with the detritus of lives lived. He stumbled upon a small, heavy safe tucked away in a dark corner. Curiosity piqued. He spent hours searching for the key, finally finding it hidden in an old book. The lock clicked open, revealing a stack of yellowed documents bound in leather. Ethan's breath caught as he saw the crest embossed on the cover. A stylized bird with outstretched wings, eerily familiar. He had seen it countless times emblazoned on uniforms and banners in his beloved anime. This was the crest of the Holy Britannian Empire from Code Geass. His heart pounded as he read the documents, each word pulling him deeper into a reality he thought was fiction. The documents revealed a lineage he never knew existed. His ancestors, it turned out, were not simple farmers, but diplomats, entrusted with a dangerous secret. They served as liaisons between the United States and the Holy Britannian Empire, a hidden chapter in history that had been erased from public knowledge. The portal, a gateway to this alternate Earth, had been closed for decades, communications severed. Among the documents, he found something even more intriguing, a communication codebook and a vintage radio set, its bakelite casing cracked but intact. Ethan spent days poring over the codebook, deciphering the intricate system of numbers and phrases. He felt a connection to the past, to the family he never knew, and to the world of Code Geass that suddenly felt vividly real. The radio became an object of fascination, a tangible link to a world he thought existed only in animation. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this legacy than met the eye. Back at the university, life resumed its familiar rhythm of classes and part-time work. The weight of his discovery, however, never left him. He carried the codebook everywhere, a secret talisman in his backpack. His tormentors, a group of jocks led by the arrogant Chad, seemed to sense his distraction, escalating their harassment. One evening, after a particularly grueling shift at the bookstore, Ethan found himself cornered in a deserted hallway. Chad, flanked by his cronies, sneered down at him. Insults flew, each one a blow to Ethan's already battered self-esteem. He was shoved, his books scattered across the floor. Pain flared in his ribs as a heavy boot connected with his side. Humiliation burned hotter than any physical pain. As he lay there, bruised and defeated, a surge of desperate anger coursed through him. He had had enough. Ethan limped back to his dorm room, the weight of his humiliation a leaden cloak. His hand instinctively went to the codebook tucked in his bag. A crazy idea took root in his mind, fueled by anger and a desperate need to prove he was not the weakling everyone thought he was. He pulled out the old radio, its presence both familiar and strange. His fingers trembled as he entered a distress code from the book, a plea for help from a world he barely understood. The static crackled, the silence deafening. He was about to give up, dismissing it as the act of a desperate, lonely young man, when a voice cut through the static. It was crisp and authoritative, with an undercurrent of steel. "This is Cornelia Lee Britannia, Viceroy of Area 11. Identify yourself and state your emergency." Ethan's blood ran cold. Cornelia Lee Britannia, the formidable princess, the brilliant strategist from Code Geass, was speaking to him. It was impossible, yet undeniably real. Ethan's voice shook as he stammered out his name and the code words identifying his lineage. He explained the bullying, the humiliation, the feeling of utter helplessness. Silence met his confession, the static crackling like a judge's gavel. Then Cornelia's voice, colder now, filled the airwaves. "Your lineage is confirmed. Such treatment will not be tolerated. You are under the protection of the Holy Britannian Empire." Her words were both a promise and a threat. Ethan felt a surge of hope mingled with terror. She revealed that she had known his family. If the portal had remained open, he would have grown up as a member of her own household. Her voice softened slightly as she spoke of shared memories, of a past that could have been. Then her tone hardened. "I am coming for you, Ethan. The Empire remembers its own." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Ethan in stunned silence. He had reached out to a fantasy world and found something far more real than he could have imagined. The world held its breath. News channels buzzed with grainy footage of unidentified flying objects descending upon the sleepy college town. The United States government scrambled jets, only to be met with a show of force that defied explanation. Massive airships, emblazoned with the Britannian crest, cast long shadows over the stunned populace. Sleek nightmare frames, piloted by figures in gleaming armor, touched down on the university grounds, their weapon systems ominously silent but ready. Tanks rolled through the streets, their treads crushing the asphalt with impunity. Ethan watched from his dorm room window, the scene unfolding like a scene from his beloved anime. Students and faculty alike gaped in awe and terror as a contingent of elite Britannian soldiers marched towards his dormitory, their crimson uniforms a stark contrast to the mundane brick facade. He knew, with a mix of dread and anticipation, that Cornelia was about to make good on her promise. The dormitory doors burst open with a deafening crash. Ethan stood there frozen as Cornelia Lee Britannia entered, flanked by armed guards. Her presence filled the room, her green eyes blazing with an intensity that made his knees weak. "Ethan Wood," she addressed him formally, her voice echoing in the small space. "By the authority vested in me by His Imperial Majesty Emperor Charles Z. Britannia, I hereby recognize you as a member of the Britannian imperial family." She revealed the truth. His ancestor, a high-ranking diplomat, had fallen in love with a Britannian noblewoman. Their union, a secret kept hidden for generations, had produced a lineage that flowed through Ethan's veins. He was, much to his astonishment, a distant cousin to Cornelia herself. His life, once ordinary and unremarkable, was now irrevocably intertwined with the fate of an empire. The world that Ethan knew had been shattered. He was no longer just a nerdy college student. He was Ethan Wood, a member of the Britannian imperial family, thrust into a world of political intrigue, advanced technology, and a legacy he was only beginning to understand. Cornelia offered him a choice: remain in this world, forgotten and insignificant, or embrace his heritage and claim his rightful place by her side. The decision was agonizing. He thought of his grandparents, their faces etched in his memory, their lives seemingly so ordinary. What would they think of this extraordinary turn of events? He looked at Cornelia, her face a mask of stoicism, her eyes betraying a flicker of something akin to hope. Taking a deep breath, Ethan made his choice. He would step into the unknown, guided by the spirit of his ancestors and the promise of a destiny far greater than he could have ever imagined. The world watched as Ethan Wood, the scholarship student, disappeared into the heart of the Britannian fleet. His life forever changed. He was no longer a nobody, he was a prince.